Today we're diving into the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, and exposing the occult connections behind his music, image, and influence. We'll explore how Black Sabbath was inspired by shadow entities and a 16th century magic book, the hidden satanic symbolism in his songs, his ties to Aleister Crowley and Anton LaVey, a soul transfer theory with Yungblud, and even an infamous bat and dove incidents. Was Ozzy just a rock god or a pawn of the occult elite? Let's get into it. Now, this is the kind of show that's right up my alley, folks. If you don't know who I am, my name is Isaac Weishaupt. I've been hosting this podcast since 2014. I've written 9 books on this subject. My expertise is in the realm of the occult and pop culture and where those two worlds collide, and it doesn't get any better than the man himself, Ozzy Osbourne. Now, this is a serious show for me, right? I am a huge Ozzy Osbourne fan. I'm not like the biggest Ozzy Osbourne fan on the planet, so, you know, I've never been to a concert, and I don't listen to every single album, but he definitely holds a place in my heart, so it's sad to see him go. And this episode, because of the timing of things, I got all my ad spots filled for the month, which means normally on my supporter feeds, you get 1 bonus show a month. Well, this is your lucky day because you're getting 2. In fact, you're actually getting 3, I think, because I did a 3-part James Shelby Downard that wrapped the last 2 episodes in this month. So you're getting a 3rd one this month. This is a bonus supporters only show. If you want to listen to the full show, you got 3 options. Patreon.com/Illuminati Watcher is the most popular. IlluminatiWatcher.com VIP section. If you know how to copy and paste an RSS feed, that could be your cheapest option. Or the easiest, if you listen to it on Apple Podcast, mash the button and you're in on the premium subscriber version of the show, and you unlock this bonus episode and hundreds of others, including a 55-episode Twin Peaks mega deep dive. And to sweeten the pot, if you go to my Patreon or my VIP section, I'll put links in the show notes. Fret not. Use the promo code Ozzy, and you're going to get in for $1. That's right. For $1, you can listen to this whole show and hundreds of other episodes. My goodness. For the first month. Asterisk for the first month, and then it goes up to $5 or whatever. But yeah, and I'll even, you know what, I'm going to make a note. I'm going to even apply it to the tier 2. So if you go tier 2 where you get the video version of the show ad-free, you're going to get in for $2. What a deal. My goodness. So let's get into it. Let's start the show with a reading from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame bio for Black Sabbath. So you know where we're headed with this show, because I got a lot of reading to do to you. Everything changed when Butler, that's Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, everything changed when Geezer Butler came to the band with an idea for a song inspired by a disturbing apparition. A fan of horror films and the black magic-themed novels of Dennis Wheatley, he flirted briefly with the black arts. But when he saw what he believed to be a figure from the dark side at the foot of his bed one night, he ceased his dabblings in the goth world. Now, this article doesn't mention that this was around the time that Ozzy Osbourne stole a 16th century occult magic book, which we're going to talk about later, okay? With lyrics by Osbourne, the group composed a song about the visitation, entitling it Black Sabbath, after the 1963 Boris Karloff film. It provoked a reaction in audiences unlike anything else in their repertoire, and they knew they'd stumbled onto something powerful and unique. Forced to change their name because there was already another band named Earth, they made an obvious choice, Black Sabbath. That's when it all started to happen, Tony Iommi told writer Mick Wall. The name sounded mysterious and it gave people something to think about, and it gave us a direction to follow. Black Sabbath was the polar opposite of the Beatles. All right, so we're talking about opposing polarities. We're goating with the bobbin already, okay? Even though they all like the Beatles, which we'll talk about later too. Whereas the Fab Four sang, yeah, 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 Osbourne pleaded, no, no, please no, in Black Sabbath. It's a satanic world, Butler told Rolling Stone in 1971. The devil is more in control now. People can't come together. There's no equality. It's a sin to put yourself above other people, and yet that's what people do. With Butler serving as principal lyricist and Iommi as the musical architect, Black Sabbath pursued such themes as war, social chaos, the supernatural, the afterlife, and the timeless conflict between good and evil. The group was a product of the late 60s. It was a time when youthful idealism had begun to ebb amid the war in Vietnam, the influx of hard drugs, clashes with authority figures, and the bruising realities of working-class life. Low wages, grim labor that lay ahead for many of them. And then, all right, okay. Anyway, then it goes on to sort of talk about the conflicts they have, and we're going to talk about this conflict and this idea of, was Ozzy and Black Sabbath worshiping the devil or not? And we're going to come to a conclusion, and I will tell you if they're Illuminate confirmed. Do they worship the devil? It's complicated. It's complicated. So who was Ozzy Osbourne? Of course, he's dead, right? He died. He just died. I don't know who doesn't know that by now. Died July 22nd. The night I'm doing overtime here, folks. This is late at night. I don't know if you noticed, but the studio is dark. I'm supposed to be in bed, humping on my pillow right now. Who was Ozzy Osbourne? Super goated. He invented heavy metal. He was called the Prince of Darkness. And I grew up listening to Ozzy. I recall very distinctly my dad had a variety of mixtapes, and Black Sabbath was on those mixtapes. Because my dad was cool, He was a cool dude. He would listen to Black Sabbath. I remember we would listen to Iron Man and War Pigs. And I like that. Those were the tracks. Because he listened to a bunch of stuff. And those were some of the ones I was like, oh, I kind of like this, Ozzy was born December 3rd, 1948. And he died at the age of 76, which is remarkable for how bad a shape he was in for so long. Interestingly enough, he was born in Leamington Spa, England, which is the hometown for Leon Vitali from the Kubrick films, right? We've talked about Kubrick many times. Leon Vitali played Red Cloak in Eyes Wide Shut. Very occulted movie, as you know from my 6-part series on the movie. Also, a man named Aleister Crowley came from Leamington Spa. Because in Leamington Spa, there's a little location where you can find the masks from Eyes Wide Shut, the Venetian masks. You can find them or you could at a period of time, find them as sort of public art pieces. Now, Ozzy, he was born normal parents, right? This was no Nepo baby. Mom worked in a factory. Dad was making tools for GE. He was dyslexic, had ADD. Tragically, he was sexually abused. Oh, I forgot to give trigger warnings. We're gonna use explicit language on this episode because I found a good reason to do it. There's lots of swear words in this, so this one's gonna have swear words, and we're gonna have trigger warnings for sexual abuse talk. So you've been forewarned, okay? He was sexually abused by bullies as young as age 11, and he attempted suicide multiple times. I didn't know this until today when I was frantically trying to put the show together. From EW.com, he said, 2 boys used to wait for me to come home after school. They would fuck around with me. They didn't fuck me, but they messed around with me, he said. They would force me to drop my pants and all that shit. They felt me and touched me, and it was terrible. The first time it happened was in front of my sister, and that affected me even more. It became a regular thing on the way home from school. It seemed to go on forever. The abuse compounded the trauma of growing up poor in a family of 8, where his parents were always fighting about money. I was afraid to tell my father or mother, and it completely fucked me up. Dirty little secrets fester, and that is one of the first things I said to my kids. When I was a kid, people did not talk about these things like they do now. They didn't have chat shows talking about child molestation. I worked it out with a therapist, but if you have a traumatic experience when you were young, it does fuck you up. Sharon knows all about it, and it was only with her that I could finally relax and be myself. So it all makes sense, his struggles with addiction and drugs and alcohol over the years. Sad story, right? Even as a teenager at 17, he robbed a clothing store, does 6 weeks in prison. Then he gets out and he gets into the Beatles, all right? And he said it was like someone turned the world on to him. He said that he heard the song She Loves You and realized, he said, quote, I knew I was going to be a rock star the rest of my life. You hear this a lot. You hear this a lot from the celebrities and these musicians that they get a premonition or they channel something from the ether about knowing their future and their fate. A lot of times they talk about predicting their own death. You hear that often, right? Like, remember Big and Tupac? They had albums talking about how they're going to die, like Machiavelli and Life After Death with Big. So he gets into the Beatles. A couple years later, Geezer Butler recruits Ozzy to be the vocalist for Black Sabbath, which the band was called Earth. Before that, it was called some kind of polka. Had some weird ass name. And then he later meets Sharon, and and so on and so on. I'm going to walk you through this whole thing, the music career. So it starts out with Black Sabbath, right? And we're in the 60s here, which is insane because the 60s starts out with songs talking about holding hands, and by the end of the 60s, we've got Charles Manson and Black Sabbath. And Ozzy cited the Beatles with planting the seed for him to become a rock star, as I just told you. But the Beatles also connects into the world of Charles Manson with the Helter Skelter theory, the White Album, all kinds of stuff. But the whole vibe of Black Sabbath was dark occult music, and their debut album, self-titled Black Sabbath, dropped on Friday the 13th. All right? And I was reading one description. They described it as some kind of mix of Dennis Wheatley's occult novels and H.P. Lovecraft, which all kind of makes sense because they were into Led Zeppelin too. They liked the Beatles, they liked Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin was very much into the occult as well. So Ozzy was the vocalist for Black Sabbath until 1979, and they fired him for a variety of, I guess he was, drinking too much. They replaced him with Ronnie James Dio. And Black Sabbath would go on to rotate everybody out over the years. I mean, they've been making tons of albums just with the whole different band members. And Ozzy even rejoins in the very late 90s. In the 2000s, does a bunch of concerts with Black Sabbath, including the one that just happened on July 5th, 2025, called Back to the Beginning, which is an apropos title when we get to my conclusion when we talk about this idea of a soul transfer theory, about him transferring his soul into Yungblud, this new young singer. Back to the beginning. It's very Ouroboros. An infinite loop, right? So anyways, this July 5th concert broke records for fundraising for Children's Hospital because the headliner was the original Black Sabbath group performing for the first time in 20-some years. It's, the whole band with Ozzy singing. And what's really weird about this final appearance is the premonition of death. A lot of people claimed that this was the funeral for Ozzy Osbourne. And then the singer, Yungblud, was at this final concert. And it was 17 days before Ozzy died, right? And there was this big to-do about Ozzy passing the torch to Yungblud, who performed Ozzy's song Changes. And Ozzy's been mentoring him, calling him family over these years. And we're going to come back to this in the exciting conclusion. But Black Sabbath go on to become the greatest metal band of all time. First album cited as the greatest metal album of all time. Everybody loves Black Sabbath, okay? They fire him from the band. He goes on solo, and he still crushes it, right? He still crushes it. Then he would go on and invent reality TV. And you could argue that MTV's Real World was kind of the first reality TV, but the Osbourne, what's it called? The Osbournes? I don't even know the name of the show. I watched the whole thing. The Osbournes was from 2002, and it dropped, and it became, it broke records for MTV for the most viewed series ever, first off. But this was a different era in reality television. Okay, this wasn't a documentary style. This was sort of a prefabricated dramatization to sort of spice things up and dumb it down a little bit. And it influenced what's been going ever since with reality TV shows. Now, when we talk about Ozzy, there's so much occult stuff to unpack, and I'm going to do my best to hit all of it right now. Because Ozzy and Black Sabbath, they were one of the main targets for satanic panic during the 70s and 80s. And to be fair, they kind of deserved it, okay? So let's go through all the reasons why they could be Illuminati confirmed. And then in conclusion, we're going to talk about some of this immortality stuff and bring it all together and be like, okay, is this band Illuminati confirmed? All right, cut the music, cut the music, cut the music. All right, that's it for the free preview. If you're on that free feed loser status, you got to break out of that now. I've got this promo code, good till July 31st. Use promo code Ozzy, all caps, at patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher. You can get him for $1. You can also use it at IlluminatiWatcher.com's VIP section. Get him for $1. If you want to go tier 2 and get the video version of the show, ad-free and all that stuff, it'll be $2, okay? Same promo code, just sign up for the tier 2 thing. All right? You know where to go. I'll put the links in the show notes as usual. But yeah, if you want to listen to this whole episode, it was super interesting. We walked through the albums of Black Sabbath. I tried to identify that 16th century magic book that Ozzy used to sort of basically invent Black Sabbath. It's how they started. Some of the artwork inside of the albums, the inverted crosses, a lot of stuff we read from the I Am Ozzy class, the autobiography about his experience. We had some fun stories about him pissing in someone's wine. Oh, it was a great time. We talk about the origins of the track War Pigs. It comes from Walpurgis, which is the satanic holiday, and that's what Geezer Butler tells us. It's literally what they were what they were shooting for. Then we walk through all of his stuff with biting the heads off of bats and doves, and people committing suicide from the albums, and then a blood sacrifice of Randy Rhoads and Mr. Crowley, which is of course about Aleister Crowley. And then we talk about some lyrics that suggest that maybe they were selling their soul to the devil, right? Even some possible connections to MK Ultra. And then we get into some really weird theories about soul transferring to Yungblud, right? I reveal some interesting things about Yungblud and this weird thing about Ozzy Osbourne becoming immortal with his DNA, and it gets weird as hell. So if you want to enjoy this whole show, you want to unlock hundreds of bonus episodes, you want to go ad free. I know you wanted that. No more Copy My Crypto ads. No more dynamic ads. Oh, it's going to be lovely. You can get all those things. Patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher or IlluminatiWatcher.com. Hit the VIP tab on the menu and you can compare the platforms. But the promo code Ozzy will only work at IlluminatiWatcher.com's VIP section or Patreon.com/IlluminatiWatcher. Links in the show notes. Till next time, stay positive.